Welcome to Altar of the Demo Gods. If you're wondering what advice from two experienced sales engineers sounds like, it's a little like this.
Welcome back to Altar the Demo Gods. I'm Keith Wilson, joined by my co-host, John Morton. John, how you doing tonight?
Ahoy, hoy, Keith.
Ahoy, hoy, John. In this episode, we're talking about AI, which is a topic for me. Last week's episode, though, we talked about something closely related because AI did come up. We talked sales automation, where, not being too much of experts ourselves, I think we navigated pretty well and still have an open invite for any sort of BDR, SDR, or sales automation tool vendor to come on and talk to us a bit more about sales automation. But we talked about things like Salesforce and HubSpot and how sales automation plays into those. I even talked a little bit about one of my favorite tools, Zapier. John, what did you take away from our conversation on sales automation?
Yeah, sales automation, right? Double-edged sword. It can be a good thing. Automating those mundane tasks you may not want to do, like sending emails, campaigns like that. But on the other end of it, garbage in, garbage out, make sure you know what you're doing, and hopefully it doesn't displace your job. So stay on top of the tech with understanding where things are going with automation. You're not working yourself out of a role.
Yeah, control the tech. Don't let the tech control you.
Exactly.
Yeah. So as I mentioned, so if you didn't listen to that, go back to last week's episode. That's episode 24. And have a listen to our episode on sales automation. But like I said, we're talking about AI tonight, and I am super excited because I am writing a course right now on AI security. I've written about close to 100 pages on it. I can't remember how many tens of thousands of words that is. I think it's 20 to 30,000 words, maybe more, right? I can't remember the exact word count on it, but it's all about AI security. So, and I love AI for its efficiency. And I'm a curious person too. So it being something that's brand new, and that's why I initially got into information security. So for those that don't know, John and I both, although sales engineer backgrounds, we both work in the information security industry sector, right? To me, it was information security was always this bleeding edge sort of thing. And now that's AI, right? We're on the cusp of that.
Absolutely.
Here's what I want to know, what your experience and interaction level is with AI, because I know all the different things I use it for. But John Morton, we haven't talked about what you use AI for. Do you use AI or?
So I do use AI. I do use it, and I'm going to go ahead and name drop what I use. I actually use Copilot with Microsoft. And what I normally use Copilot for is I'm lazy. I want Copilot to do more. So I have a very good way of making things concise, clear, short, 2 sentences. What I use AI for, in my experience, is taking that 1 or 2 sentences and making it, 3-4 paragraphs. And then I'll even...
So that whatever the point is that you're trying to make is fully explained, I'm assuming. Because I do the same thing, right?
I don't know if it's more fully explained or it's just more filler, because I take a lot of pride in the simplicity by which I deliver a message. But at the same time, I know everybody wants more content. And the simplest answer, that is not more content. So what I normally use AI for is that, where I'm saying, take this simple idea and deconstruct it, right? Most people want to take AI and take a complex idea and simplify it. I actually use it in the reverse for the most part. Case in point, if you wanted to build a resume, I have a couple of quick quips. I have about 3 bullets of what I do very well. AI can take those 3 bullets and build me a 2-page resume that's way more beautifully orchestrated and complicated that some other AI might recognize and say, oh, wow, that's way more valuable than John's 3 bullets. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, okay. So you've used it for content writing. Any other experience with that? So, and you said Copilot is what you're using for that.
Copilot I used, and I also use ChatGPT via my wife. So I've asked Keith before. So a couple things. So, I own property and I wanted a lease agreement. and I don't want to contact a lawyer. It doesn't have to be legally binding. I just want a standard lease agreement. You ask ChatGPT, here's the state, here's the property, here's what I want. Bing, bang, boom. It'll give you output. I'm not expecting it to be legally bound. I'm not, going to go to court and say, hey, I wrote this, but it's doing the work.
That's a good distinction to make. There was a lawyer that used ChatGPT to help him write his briefs. He got eviscerated by that judge. If I remember correctly, he got sanctioned for it because it was like referencing cases that didn't exist and all sorts of weird stuff. The guy just let ChatGPT write this brief that he's going to submit to a judge. So definitely don't do that. But no, your specific circumstances. I understand what you were getting at. Yeah, ChatGPT's is great. I mean, I use it for this podcast for a lot of the marketing that we do, where I will feed it a transcript of our episode and say, what's a good way to talk about this on LinkedIn, or even the video clips that we do.
Actually, yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah.
I forgot that one. I don't know what Riverside uses. They don't label. So Keith and I record this podcast on riverside.fm. They're a platform. They do have AI. I have no idea what it is, but it does generate clips. So when we record these 30-minute videos, it'll go through and it'll select the highlights and it'll make 45-second snippets for me. That's extremely powerful. That's another good use case.
Yeah, well, and none of this is a sales engineer use case. This is more of a marketing use case, actually. Unless you're a sales engineer that does your own marketing. So if you do your own videos and things like that for social media, or say you have a webinar that you want to break into a bunch of social media clips, like this sort of thing is great for it. So what I'll do is I'll take things like those video clips and get a transcript of them, because it's only 45 seconds, a small little paragraph transcript. Give that to ChatGPT and ask it to say, depending on the platform, like what should I write for this as a post for LinkedIn, for this video for LinkedIn? What should I write for this as a post for this video for YouTube? What should I write for a post for this video for Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it, right? So I use it for that. Now let's talk about how it can be used by sales engineers. We actually hit on this. It was an idea I know because I just finished doing the editing on it in one of our other shows, where a great application of AI for sales engineers would be in the RF whatever response, right? Because generative AI would be great for filling in those things. The problem is you want to make sure that it's accurate, right? So you have to worry about accuracy is one of the main pieces of that. And potentially security issues around privacy. Now, this will be, this is an internal tool used, but it should be an internal tool used by your employees. But at the same time, you want to make sure that no sort of private information is being shared across that system, right? Or across any sort of open, non-proprietary system. That's probably one of the best places where I could see AI being used, right? For sales engineers anyway.
Yeah.
Right?
One of my smarter customers actually asked me about that. So like, for those that don't know, in my current role, I'm kind of in the identity space, cloud access management specifically. And I'm going to be candid. I don't know necessarily enough about all of the AI platforms. Matter of fact, just to save myself from the Skynet overlords, Keith, I refer to them now as entities. I give them that label just in case
AI entities.
Aware. I do, because when I'm trying to describe an AI, it's hard to describe what it actually is. So I call it an entity, but these entities actually aggregate data. They have access to data. They aggregate data and they develop this, output. And
it's
whenever I talk,
So at its root, generative AI is based on predictions, right? So everybody remembers years ago when you started typing something into Google and then it would finish it. That is generative AI. That's it. Yeah. It's just with these newer models, we've given it more information and we've allowed it to expand. But in its simplest form, it's a predictive model, right? It predicts based on what the next word or next character is going to be.
Yep, and that's based on some sort of data set, right? So people are always asking me, well, how do we stop it from, like, to Key's point, the privacy aspect? Here's the use case that was brought to me by my customer, and this is worth thinking about, and I promise it'll make sense for technical sales. Imagine if AI had access to a data set across your organization where you work, and it had access to everyone's salary. And you ask the AI, hey, AI, am I fairly getting paid? It doesn't know how to lie. It doesn't know the boundaries. It's going to tell you whatever it has access to as far as data sets go. So to Keith's point about privacy, it's very important to understand
or even,
what you're sharing.
Even better, take that a step further and say, hey, AI, what's John Morton getting paid? And you start finding out what other people are getting paid.
Exactly. So you want to have those boundaries around the privacy and stuff. But it exactly relates to sales engineering too, because, on the one hand, you think, oh, I could just teach it to do my job and I can help it to coach me with demos. It still needs some sort of boundaries, about the entity to protect it from itself, Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, building some sort of RFP like application, or even just an RFP type bot, wouldn't be that hard. Essentially, you can have your own offshoots. You can build your own AI applications based on like ChatGPT. I'm going to get a little technical here. This is for those of you that know how to like write in Python. Use this library called LangChain. I don't know if they write it in anything else. I believe it's all in Python. And LangChain allows you to write your own sort of custom AI applications where I can give different vector stores. And I think you can do this with a bit. I haven't messed with the custom GPTs too much in OpenAI's ChatGPT, but I have messed with LangChain. So you could set up your own vector store database with your previously answered RFPs, RFIs, RF whatevers, right? Have all of those loaded in there. Now, to make it safe, you're going to want to anonymize all of that, right? So any sort of customer-specific information should be scrubbed from that data set. But now you're using that ChatGPT's model because it works through the OpenAI API. So you're using their model. So the GPT-4 Turbo, I think, is probably the one that is the most recent, most magical one that everybody's using, right? So now I can say, well, I want to use that power on my database and I want to be able to question it, right? Now all I have to do is just write the other part of that, which is to read the questions and then use that list of questions to go and search my data set and then generate a response to them. That's it. It's sounds complicated, but it really isn't that complicated for anybody that sort of understands development, and anybody that understands Python understands that this would not be that difficult to create at all.
I think you just started a new company here, Keith. Somebody's listening to this podcast is going to go build it. They better give us some credit. At least sponsor the podcast, for the love of God.
So another area that's big for AI that could be done like right now, like this isn't theoretical, it's data analysis, like feeding it large sets of data. I haven't tried this at all, but I'm wondering, like, if you allowed an AI to analyze your territory's deals, the progress that you've made, your forecasting, things that you've closed, if you were able to get all of those numbers and feed it to an AI and just ask it what sort of interesting insights you could provide me, what you could discover about what you've been doing right and what you've been doing wrong. Yeah.
There was a term I saw, man. I can't remember it for the life of me, but I was speaking to some, can't remember, a lady at a conference or something like that. Keith knows, I love moseying up to a bar, drinking too much and chatting with people. But she told me there was a job related to this, and it revolved around data. So it was almost like, in the terms of sales land, sales ops, a sales operations person, but their job was that. It was more of...
It was a data scientist.
Data ops.
Yeah, it's a data scientist type role. I don't know that I'd necessarily label them like a data scientist. Now, some of them truly are data scientists.
Right, realistically, 100%. But that was to what you're saying. They're taking sales data and they're making sense of it. And I was like, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah. So AI's gotten really good at that too. Making sense of data sets to provide insights.
Yeah, and back to our last point, right? Those CRM tools, we have so much data. We have call logs, email logs. Imagine if you gave your AI access to that data set and we told it, kind of coached it on what we wanted. Tell me maybe an aha moment where the customer reacted in a unique way, or, where they asked for more information. It's the coaching of the AI, I think, in the sales engineering land. To your point, what do we want out of the RFP? We want a way to standardize and automate that mundane, terrible process.
Yeah.
That's exactly it.
Yeah, I mean, so another good example, I think, is emails, right? If you find yourself sending the same sort of technical emails to people over and over and over again, maybe generate a really good one with AI, right? So I'll use AI to help me write emails to dumb things down a bit. Well, dumb things down isn't the right way to say it. To just really, really explain things, to make sure that what I'm communicating is coming across clearly. Like when I teach a class, I want to make sure that so I fed ChatGPT, like, I'm teaching this class. In order to have a successful course, I need the student make sure the students have done this and they know these things before they show up. Write this email for me. So it would help me write this very concise email and put in things there that I wouldn't necessarily think about, because I'm not, I'm thinking here about a class that I do day in, day out, where I'm not thinking about the user who this is the first time they've ever interacted with, my team and with one of these courses. So it's helpful for having almost another point of view, albeit a robotic point of view. It's nice for having another point of view.
I love the robotic autonomy. But yeah, that's the thing about AI. I think when people are engaging with it is, helping folks. So here's an interesting kind of spin on it too, is what I've seen is, as it relates to technical sales specifically, and although I've seen it more in hacks, if anybody goes to your website for the company you represent and the things you represent, and there's normally a chat bot, for lack of a better term, that bot is powered by AI, and it's going to answer, that entity is going to answer particular questions that and ultimately it's trying to get you to engage with a salesperson, but that's an excellent use of it, right? How do we train those sort of chatbots to give good answers, good enough answers, but also set the hook? We don't want it to answer everything up front, give a technical roadmap, detailed explanation, just enough of an answer to kind of offset calling an SE, scheduling their time, right? There's a balance there I think you can find using AI in that sense for sales engineering.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm wondering, one, if there's a way to apply this to demoing at all, right? If there's a way to use AI for improving demos. But I don't know if we're there yet. I don't know what that would take. It would.
Before I make this statement, let me go ahead and make for the record, dear AI entity overlords, I'm a fan. Now, secondly, I'm still a fan of the human. What do I mean by that? Keith highlighted it a little earlier, or in the previous episode, about an AI we saw that was a BDR. It called, it kept asking more questions. Honestly, I think in enough time, and we're going into the theoretical here, Keith and I, there is no reason an AI can't, one, have a superimposed human, the most beautiful specimen of a male, female, or non-binary of every descript with every dialect. So one, the AI can have a perfect...
You can already do that today. That technology exists.
And then number two, the AI can follow along in the conversation and show in a product exactly what it needs. I don't think we're that far off. Where it will potentially fall apart again is that human aspect of where you have to go meet a customer, maybe shake their hand. Not every product's sold that way. Enterprise software is. So I feel confident in my future. But I do think theoretically, Keith, we're not that far from that reality. What do you think?
I think doing live demos, AI-based, you're asking to add a whole new wrinkle in. I mean, we call this episode Altar the Demo Gods because we joke about, making a sacrifice of the altar of the demo gods before doing a demo because things go wrong, right? Trying to introduce a technology to demonstrate another technology, there's a lot that can go wrong there without any sort of human supervision. So, and in every aspect of AI, there's going to be human supervision for a very long time. I mean, it's not to get too deep into the weeds, but the government released this thing called the United States government. Europe has their own thing, but the United States government has released they call the AI Risk Management Framework, or RMF, right? And it talks about human oversight and transparency and things like that in there too. So we're going to have human oversight for quite a while, but I think technology managing technology, like demonstrating technology, there's a lot that can go wrong there.
I don't know.
It can happen, but
simple enough tech.
I'm not saying that it'll never happen. I don't see it on the horizon.
Dear AI overlords, entities, I do not speak for Keith Wilson in this respect.
Yeah, watch in 2 weeks we come back to welcome back to Altar of the AI Gods. We've learned our lesson.
Presented by John Morton 2.0 and Keith Wilson 2.0 they've been backfilled by legitimate AIs.
Yeah. Yeah, I have actually messed with an AI tool that will replicate your voice. And I was using it for just testing out some automation voiceover work and stuff like that. And it was interesting. Scary, working as a security person. It's scary to see where AI can go, but just very impressive at the same time. Which, my advice to people that are afraid of AI is fear is not going to serve you well. Pretending like it doesn't exist and like that it doesn't have the potential to do what you do now at some point is silly. You should now be thinking about how do you use AI as a tool to do your job better, to, as we talked about, to elevate yourself higher in your role, to use it as a tool to take care of the low-hanging fruit so that you can better yourself and learn how to control AI, right? Learn how to use that as an efficiency tool. I kind of look at it as an employee, right? If I could get another head count with an assistant, what else would that free me up to do, right? Because we're always talking at work. Most people I know at work are too busy. Nobody ever says, "Oh, I don't have enough work." Maybe maybe it's levels of honesty, but nobody ever tells me that they don't have enough work, right? Most people tell you that they're too busy, especially if they're in leadership. Like, all my people are too busy. I'm too busy. I need another head count. Okay, so what would you do if you had that other head count, right? And then can I use AI to free up enough time to do those things?
I think that's a good way to put it, Keith. And again, my respect to the AI overlords is that AI again is just another tool, man. It's just like when somebody came out and they said, hey, Henry Ford, bro, you got a car. Hey, that's great. I already got a bunch of horses. You know what I mean? AI is just another tool that can help you be more productive. And, either you're going to fear that tech and that change, or you're going to embrace it and find out new ways to get creative and use it to your value. I'm with you on that respect, Keith. Don't be afraid of it. Embrace it. Figure out where you can automate something in your role, even in a technical sales role, using AI. It doesn't know. It's going to help you.
Yeah. So with that, I think that's a great note for us to end on. This is where we summarize and say goodbye. So for me, this was a fun episode. It went by pretty quick. I enjoy talking about AI. I have a lot more knowledge on the security of it and kind of the governance and planning around that, and would bore most people in our audience to tears, and rightfully so. It bores me a lot, but it's information you need to know. Anyway, AI for sales engineers, use it now to make yourself more efficient or to add more value, right? Whether that's generating content. Now, don't just generate a bunch of AI garbage, like fine tune it, right? And then post that. So use it to generate content, to spread your message. If you can find ways to use it in scoring, right? Seek out those tools that can help you. But remember, it is just a tool, right? Learn AI. Don't be afraid of it. Try and figure out how you can use it to elevate yourself so that you don't have to fear it. John, What were your thoughts on AI?
A lot along those same lines, Keith, right? Like, it's another tool. If you can help it automate your job and you can command even 1/5 of AI's capabilities in your current organization, I guarantee you, I bet you 10-1 right now, you call us a year from now, you're going to have way more success. So embrace the tech, right? Don't be afraid of it. But also keep in mind, right? You gotta coach the data set to do what you want. And just think about it from your purview. Your expertise is required to give the boundaries to the AI by which it's going to learn. So again, kudos to the AI overlords. I hope they remember this, the entities that they are.
All right. If you enjoyed this episode, please share, like, subscribe, all that good stuff that you can do on the interwebs. You can find us on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts, iHeartRadio, pretty much anywhere you get a podcast, you can find us, Alter the Demo Gods. To find everything, including blog posts and articles and other things about us and these episodes, you can go to demogodspod.com. If you have questions for us or think you'd be a good guest on the show, shoot us an email at demogodspod@gmail.com. John, been great talking to you. To those listening at home or watching at home, I hope you learned something. I hope this was valuable to you, and we'll catch you next week on Altar of the Demo Gods.